In this one video, I have combined the results of my studies into the 5 keys of success and the 9 principles to an achievable outcome. I took out time during this research and while sharing what I've been learning in the videos to really incorporate it into my daily life. So I'm basically learning along with my viewers. I found this information extremely helpful in the achievement of my goals, some of which I will be sharing very soon on this very channel. What I've personally found in essence is that the secret to the keys to success and the principles to an achievable outcome are in the exchanging of self-sabotaging behaviors for successful behaviors at a subconscious level. So it only made sense to combine the 2 series in one video for all who are serious about achieving their goals, large or small. So if that is you, listen on, and more importantly, listen often, as repetition is key in changing behaviors, especially on a subconscious level. Without further delay, we will begin with the first of the 5 keys to success. Our behavior and results are produced as a direct result of what we think and the internal representations that we hold in our minds. There are 5 principles for success. This video will go over the first. The first principle is dual in nature, as you must be clear on your goal and know your outcome. Stronger than belief, you must know your outcome. To have this type of confidence, you must first be clear on your goal. Without a clear goal, there is nothing clear to aim for. The type of knowing that you have when you think of the sun coming up tomorrow. You don't believe that. You know that. Belief can be shaky because beliefs change. However, in contrast, being clear on your goal and knowing your outcome drives you to success. Take some time out to assure your goals are clear. Once in focus, take more time to see yourself at the finish line or know the outcome. This concludes the first principle for success. Stay tuned for part 2. She Writes Mind, Body, and Soul is in the positivity business. The first principle to success is dual in nature and involves being clear on your goal and knowing your outcome. The second principle is to take action. What stops many people from taking action is all that we have to do in a day. Many of us have full lives. However, we must see where there is time that we dedicate to things that can wait. With so many distractions right at the tip of our fingers, it's easy to utilize time on activities that can wait in order that we may achieve our goals. To achieve goals, it takes action, and this action will many times mean a change in our daily routines. We will need to identify if any activity is necessary and if it is helping to move us further to the goal. If it's not, it's a distraction that can wait. What a person will need to agree with in order to take the necessary action is that they have control over their own focus and where it goes, and take accountability. What is the importance of accomplishing the goal? Prioritize it accordingly. Another roadblock to taking action is sometimes just knowing where to start. Most will suggest making a list. A list can be helpful, and the best way to begin the list is to write down the first thing that pops into your head that will help you accomplish your goal. Make sure it's something you can do now, no matter how small. This will be your only item on your list until you complete it. So in essence, keep writing down the next one thing that will help you accomplish your goal and do it. To summarize, take action. Identify any distractions. Recognize that you have power over where your focus goes and prioritize your goals in your life. Identify the one thing you can do, no matter how big or small, something you can do now, and do it. Rinse and repeat. She Writes Mind, Body, and Soul is in the positivity business. To recap, the first principle to success is to be clear on your goal and know your outcome. The second principle to success is to take action. The third is to focus. But focus on what? Sometimes we are so focused on what's right in front of us that our senses become dull to our real experience and we overlook opportunities that are present and surrounding us. We've all heard the term couldn't see the forest for the trees. Well, that's exactly the point that is being made. So although there is a need to be focused, we also need to be aware. The focus needs to be on the achievement of the big picture goal, and not each individual aspect of the goal at the expense of everything else. Or in other words, don't just look at the trees. Look at the forest, also known as the big picture. To do this, it takes sensory acuity. In a general way, sensory acuity means how good your senses are at doing what they should. In a larger sense, it's about being connected to all that's going on around us in a way that we're able to pick up information and opportunities that we would otherwise miss due to having a bit of tunnel vision. So focus on the big picture and train your senses to be aware of all that is around you. By doing so, ideas and opportunities that seem to come from nowhere appear and help you to achieve your goals. Also, take some time and reflect on the outcome. And always remember to enjoy your journey along the way. She Writes Mind, Body, and Soul is in the positivity business. The fourth principle of success has to do with being flexible. No, not physically flexible, but behaviorally. What do you do when your plan or goal is not working? Most people dig in and hold on even more out of an aversion to change and under the guise of being dedicated. However, being married or dedicated to an idea or concept that is not working is a recipe for failure. If something we plan is not working, we must have the flexibility in our own behavior to change it. Expect the need to change direction and do not see it as some sort of failure. If you need to change direction, that at the very least means that you're taking action and are headed towards your goal. Be flexible. Be willing to change. Keep going and enjoy your journey. She Writes Mind, Body, and Soul is in the positivity business. It has been mentioned that our behavior and results are a direct representation of what we think and the internal representations we hold in our mind. The fifth principle of success brings us back to the first, as it requires you to know your outcome. It requires that you project yourself mentally to the moment of your success and absorb how that feels. Do not only notice how you feel, but also your posture. How are you breathing? What types of things are you saying and imagining that moment of your success? Whatever it is, you will need to embody that now. You must become that person now. Why? Because you yourself see that as the type of person that gets what you want. To explain further, our internal representation or pictures that we hold in our mind are linked to our physiology, and our physiology is linked to our behavior. By envisioning yourself at the moment of success, or as what you consider to be a successful person, you're able to experience the physiology and the internal representation of what success is to you. If being excellent is the goal, then you must be a model of that and operate from a physical and mental state of excellence, doing the mental and physical work in concert to achieve the success you envision. She Writes Mind, Body, and Soul is in the positivity business. And next, we'll go over the 9 keys to an achievable outcome. There are 9 keys to an achievable outcome. This video will go over the first, which is to state your goal in the positive. Let's begin with a little background. The 9 keys to an achievable outcome was formulated by extensive research into the principles and attitudes of people who consistently achieve their goals. People who typically meet their goals have a number of traits, disciplines, and attitudes that they adopt in their lives consistently to get what they are seeking to accomplish. The goal is to communicate to your unconscious mind in such a way that you can replicate the behavior. First, run any goal you have through the 9 keys to assure your goals are smart and that you are on the way to an achievable outcome. So once again, the first key is to state your goal in the positive. So what exactly does that mean? Most people tend to believe that they have a positive goal and that it's stated in the positive. However, the body language and even the speech they use are contradictory. If you ask someone about their goals and the purpose for it, they may respond by speaking about what they do not want. This is speaking away from the motivation instead of towards it. Take any goal that you have, whether it be professional or personal, and ask yourself why you have the goal. Does your answer indicate that you are motivated towards the positive outcome of the goal, or away from a negative outcome associated with not achieving the goal? To identify if the motivation for achieving your goal is towards the positive outcome you seek or away from a negative aspect of it, dissect the goal by asking why. For instance, say you have a goal to purchase a home. Ask yourself why you want to purchase a home. The answer may sound like, I want to purchase a home to have a firm foundation to build upon. Now let's go deeper. Always question the first answer you get back. Ask yourself why having a firm foundation to build upon is important to you. The answer may sound like having a homestead to call my own and security are important to me. Go even deeper. Ask yourself why it is important for you to have a homestead and security. The answer may sound like, because I never want to put control over where I live in someone else's hands. I have been homeless before. I never want to be homeless again. And there it is, the foundation of the goal is rooted away from motivation, and since that is fueling everything else, it's not actually stated in the positive. Covertly focusing on what you do not want will bring you just that, what you do not want. So it is very important to be honest with yourself about the motivation behind the things you are seeking to achieve. If you do this exercise and find that your goals are rooted away from the motivation, the key is to reframe it towards the positive aspect of the goal. Having a goal not stated in the positive doesn't mean the goal is not worth achieving. The key here is understanding your base motivation and changing your internal representations to align with the positive outcome of what you want, not what you do not want. This is only the first of the 9 keys to an achievable outcome. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of all new videos. She Writes, Mind, Body, and Soul is in the positivity business. To recap, the first key to an achievable outcome is to state your goal in the positive. The second key is to specify your current situation. As mentioned in the first principle to success, without a clear goal, there is nothing clear to aim for. Additionally, part of getting to where you are going is knowing where you currently are. This is very important, and it reinforces the need to have a measurable goal, as discussed in the video, the difference between a state and a goal. It's also important because it helps you to determine if your goal is achievable. Many will say you can do anything you put your mind to, and although this is relatively true, it's not always realistic or plausible. For instance, say you want to learn how to play the piano by the end of the month. Is that possible? It certainly is. However, is it possible to do so if you only devote an hour a day to learning? Not likely. So when specifying your current situation, some honest questions that you will need to ask of yourself are, where am I now with regards to achieving the goal? What resources do I have now that will help me to achieve the goal? How much time do I have available for the goal? And what is the distance from where I am now and actual goal achievement? Then you will want to make an accurate and honest assessment of what it takes to reach your goal and if it is actually achievable. Even if you find that you are not where you would like to be once you take a bird's eye view of your situation, do not get discouraged. This quick snapshot will help you to create an outcome that is achievable. She Writes, Mind, Body, and Soul is in the positivity business. And if you're watching this video, please consider subscribing. Your support is greatly appreciated. The third key to an achievable outcome is to specify your goals. This key resembles the first principle to success, which is to know your outcome. To get anywhere, you must first know where you are going. As previously stated, without a clear goal, there is nothing clear to aim for. Additionally, if you do not have a destination, there is nowhere to arrive. This step begs of you to get very specific on what your actual goal is. This is very important, as in order to move forward, you not only have to have a goal to achieve, but you must also be able to specify that goal as clearly and concisely as possible. In this key, you will want to take some time to visualize yourself at goal achievement. Notice as many details about the moment as possible. Notice any important sounds and feelings you're experiencing. If you could name the feeling, what would it be? Now take a moment and relive the outcome of your goal a few times. This helps you to further visualize and specify your outcome, which in turn helps you to specify your goal and get where you are going. She writes, Mind, Body, and Soul is in the positivity business. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified of upcoming videos in this series. So far, we've discussed stating your goal in the positive, specifying your current situation, and specifying your goals. The fourth principle to an achievable outcome is to survey your progress. This video is part of a 9-part series, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will get the full picture, and so ultimately it will all make sense. Along the way, it is important to have evidence that you are succeeding successfully along the path. Throughout most of the tips given in the 5 principles to success, and even in this series, it's been driven home to take a moment to picture and live in the outcome. At this point, the direction is to not only take notice of the outcome, but also to take notice of happenings that support you are achieving your goal. No matter what your goal is, you should be able to take notice of key things that prove you're on your way. This step does a few things. It gives you fuel to keep going. It gives you an opportunity to be grateful. And it also sends a compelling picture to your subconscious mind that it will chase after without your even being aware. Be sure to get your honorable mentions down on paper or somewhere that you can see them, and be sure to take notice of anything that is not in line with your goal achievement. And last but not least, enjoy your journey. I appreciate your support in any form. She writes is in the positivity business and more. The 5th key to an achievable outcome is to have a goal that is self-initiated and self-maintained. Really quick, this is a 9-part series, so if you haven't hit the subscribe button already, you may want to do so now. Back to the topic at hand. First of all, the goal itself has to be your goal and not someone else's. Now, what exactly does that mean? It's okay to get ideas from others, as long as you are able to execute the ideas and have a passion and drive to do so. We all get ideas and inspiration from others, but there has to be a personal reason for one to be invested in the goal. It can't be just because someone else thinks it's a good idea. Another important aspect of this key is to recognize if the outcome of the goal is one that can be self-maintained. Now, this does not mean that you do not utilize your resources and other people's particular skill sets to get things done. Just because you feel you can do anything doesn't mean you should set out to do everything. What it does mean is that successful completion of the goal itself is your responsibility, and your responsibility alone, and cannot solely depend on others. You have to be the one to make sure things are completed, and you must be able to drive the goal itself to successful completion. Otherwise, you do not have an achievable outcome. So certainly, use your resources. But at no time should you relinquish full and total responsibility for the completion of the project and the outcome you desire on others. Thank you for tuning in. She writes, it's in the positivity business, and more. There are two types of motivation styles, towards motivation and away from motivation. Each will be defined in this video, and you will see just how the style you choose can affect your life's journey. We are all naturally motivated away from painful or fearful experiences and towards things that will bring us pleasure. While it's true that either way we are being motivated, there is a difference. Let's break down each in this brief video. An away from motivation approach really gets things going. This approach is highly effective in getting things done in the short term. It is well known that pain is a highly effective motivator. Although pleasure is as well, it is not as strong a motivator as pain. For instance, say you are enjoying a sandwich and sat down without pouring yourself something to drink. You may think it would be nice to have a little something to drink. The taste of some lemonade or water with your sandwich would be pleasurable. Yet you may just sit and eat your sandwich and figure you'll get up in a minute. Now, say in that same scenario, you begin to choke and feel discomfort. You are most likely to jump up and grab something to drink, right? Well, that's because pain and fear are very strong motivators. Now, although that example is a bit extreme, we work in the exact same way on a subconscious level. So you see, pleasure is also a strong motivator because you likely would have gotten up to get something to drink at some point. Yet the pleasure of drinking the water will not get you up as quickly as the fear and discomfort of choking. So pleasure is a strong motivator. It's just not as strong a motivator as fear or pain, especially in the long term. When you are motivated away from something, you clearly get a high energy boost from whatever it is you're trying to get away from. There are highs and lows from increased activity, and the lows where you may feel relief and take very little to no action. So once you have solved the issue or moved away from the motivation, there is no threat of pending harm. So there's also no motivation. Being motivated by fear brings you into survival mode. It has been proven that operating in survival mode causes the immune system to malfunction due to increased levels of cortisol, making a person more susceptible to disease. So plainly put, away from motivation is survival mode, even in the short term. Another major issue with being motivated this way is that it affects your subconscious representations, which in turn brings forth the habitual pattern of requiring a stressful situation to feel accomplished again. Humans are goal-oriented. When there is no goal, we create one. The reason the subconscious is programmed to seek stressful situations to get motivated is that it was the last reference of motivation it had. So once again, subconsciously we seek stress to get motivated, finding ourselves in a vicious cycle of creating the lifestyle we dislike, not understanding it has to do with our basic motivation style. Some people may not feel very goal-oriented. Keep in mind when speaking of goals, a goal can be paying a bill, having transportation, or making sure your children are living a stable life. All of these are goals. The motivation style will determine each individual's experience in getting things done. Most people operate away from motivation. The good news is that with some great self-help tools like positive affirmations and possibly working with a certified counselor or therapist, a person can in fact change their motivation to a towards motivation approach. A towards motivation approach can be beneficial because working towards the motivation produces a much more sustainable energy. Although the initial feeling to get motivated is less with the towards motivation approach in comparison to the away from motivation approach, it increases over time. The closer you get to the goal, the more motivated you become. Notably, an away from motivation approach is very powerful in getting people to make that initial decision to change overall. But it produces a life of highs and lows, while operating with towards motivation approach produces a more enjoyable and stabler life. She writes, mind, body, and soul is in the positivity business. To get the most out of this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, as this is a series. The seventh key to an achievable outcome is to determine if the goal makes sense, context-wise. This step, like many of the others, requires being able to see yourself at goal achievement. However, in this step, what is being observed is the actual meaning of the goal. First, ask the question, where, how, when, and who does this goal involve? Next, visualize yourself at goal achievement and gather the answers. Notice what feelings you have when you visualize the context in which you achieve your goal. Now, ask yourself, are they in line with the desire you have to achieve it? If not, one will need to examine why. When setting those larger goals that have the ability to change our lives, we typically will have to make some notable changes. Sometimes these changes can cause a barrier to achieving what we want in life. For instance, a typical change that many of us have to make in order to achieve our goals has to do with our social life. When looking at our goals in context, we may realize that we have to limit our activity in certain social settings, perhaps even changing some friendships. This realization can be unsettling, and we may not even want to make those changes. Because of this, we can unconsciously self-sabotage or create roadblocks for ourselves out of a desire to keep things the same. One huge part of achieving your goal is to be the person you envision would achieve the goals you are trying to accomplish. We have to recognize anything that does not align with our path and begin to make those necessary adjustments. It will be very difficult to truly achieve our goal, which requires change, when you deep down desire for things to stay the same. One way through this barrier is to make the goal more desirable than your present situation. So once again, where, when, how, and with whom do you achieve your goal? When you envision goal achievement, does the feeling you have when you examine the goal in meaning and context match or surpass your desire to achieve the goal? This will help you to determine if you have an achievable outcome. We have reached the 8th key to an achievable outcome, which is, do you have the required tangible and intangible resources? If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. There are all sorts of resources that will be required to achieve your goal. Some of those are tangible, others are intangible. We'll look at both. Time, money, specialized software, and other types of equipment are all considered tangible. Some of the intangible resources are creativity, a positive mental disposition, and confidence. Let's discuss the intangible resources required. These can be overlooked and can often be attributed to something that will be acquired at a later point and possibly not until goal achievement. Well, this can be an issue, as even the intangible resources are required in the front end of the equation. For instance, let's take a look at the intangible resource of confidence. When will you have the confidence required to achieve your goal? Some may answer they will have the confidence once they see their goals working or feel some sense of achievement. Well, this is an issue. That line of thinking leads to an endless loop that typically leads to nowhere. Confidence is a resource that you'll need to achieve the goal, and it's not a byproduct of goal achievement. It's key to understand that confidence is a behavior, and therefore we can choose to be confident. Now let's take a quick look at some of the tangible resources like time and money. We will need to make sure that we have enough of both, yet many people will identify and perceive a lack in one or both of these and begin to create excuses ahead of time as to why they're not able to follow through. So very early in the planning, one will need to take a look at what resources are required and verify any resources that are already possessed, and possibly how one can acquire the ones that are not currently possessed. Start digging deeper into your ability to gather these missing resources and start checking to see if there's anyone that you know that has any of the resources that you need. Keep in mind that people are also resources. Finally, start envisioning how things will go once you have all the resources you require. Thank you so much for tuning in to the 8th Key to an Achievable Outcome. This series and final episode is coming soon. Be sure to stay tuned and subscribe, as She Writes is in the positivity business and more. I want to begin this video with thanking everyone that is signed in for goal setting tips, for being patient with me. I've been allowing the things that I learned to sink in because, as mentioned, I am learning as I go and sharing as I go. So I had to take some time to incorporate the things that I'm learning as well as sharing. So if you haven't subscribed, please be sure to do so. And without further ado, here is the 9th key to an achievable. The 9th principle to an achievable outcome has to do with cause and effect, consequences and outcomes, and how the completion of your anticipated goals affects others, directly or indirectly. Ultimately, is your goal ecologically sound? What is ecology? Ecology is a branch of science concerned with the interrelationship of organisms and their environments. There is truly nothing that we do that doesn't affect someone in some way, whether it's mentally, physically, or energetically. Looking at your goal from an ecological standpoint merely means considering the consequences of the pursuit of your goal and its ultimate achievement, not just in relation to yourself and the goal you set, but once again, also in relationship to everyone around you. How is the community affected? How is the environment affected? How does it affect or change the world, or planet even? When we answer the responsibility to generate positive energy around us, we in turn create more positivity, which means the goal achievement is quicker and easier. So in other words, goal achievement is much smoother when it's ecologically sound.